Hey everybody, it is Happy Hour with Kelly Drinks Wine, and today we are going to answer the question that perhaps nobody asked: what is a sommelier? And more importantly, what should it be? The traditional role of a sommelier is to work in a restaurant and guide people through the wine list, providing recommendations and carrying out wine service, including presenting and opening the bottle, decanting if necessary, and pouring the wine. In other words, the wine waiter. Additional responsibilities often include curating the wine list, organizing the cellar, providing food and beverage pairings, and educating the hospitality team. Some master sommeliers have suggested expanding the definition of a sommelier to include anyone who takes care of wine, period. This may be because most master sommeliers, one of the most challenging certifications to achieve, not just in wine, but in anything, rarely work the floor of a restaurant any longer for what should be obvious reasons. But I think there are other reasons as well. The hospitality industry and the wine landscape have changed over the last few years, which rightly or wrongly have made the traditional role of the sommelier less relevant than in years past. Let's unpack why this is and why we, as somms ourselves, might rethink our role in the hospitality world. Note, there is a difference between a sommelier and a certified sommelier. A sommelier is an occupation. A certified sommelier is someone who has passed the second level exam given by the Court of Master Sommeliers. For example, I am not a certified sommelier because I only took the level 1 with the Court of Masters. The other certifications I pursued were with WSET and the Society of Wine Educators. Reason number 1, most restaurants don't employ sommeliers. It's true, unless you live in New York, LA, Las Vegas, San Francisco, very few, if any, restaurants employ sommeliers. There may be a handful, but in Charlotte, for example, there's really no somm community. Most of the restaurants simply allow guests to fend for themselves. There are exceptions. In some cases, a beverage director or a manager will imbue their team and their guests with infectious enthusiasm for all things wine, but that tends to be the minority. They're unicorns. Reason number 2, even in restaurants with sommeliers, most guests rarely have the opportunity to interact with them. Also true, I am a wine fiend, and I do regularly eat out at restaurants in New York and Las Vegas, and I can count on one hand the number of times that I have had a significant interaction with the sommelier, usually because I'm annoying the shit out of the bartender with incredibly random and geeky questions about wine. Why? Because I am not ordering bottles of Screaming Eagle, and other people are. So that is what's soaking up the sommelier's attention, not me. Now, again, the sommelier's secondary role is to create enthusiasm and knowledge in the team, and they pass that on to the guest. Unfortunately, in my experience, that's a little bit of a rarity. Reason number 3. Some sommeliers don't want to share their knowledge. What? Make no mistake, those that have committed to mastering a topic as dense as wine have sacrificed financially, personally, socially, and it is a natural impulse to want to protect, to want to hoard that knowledge. God forbid that we actually share too much information with a mere mortal, but that's our job. Reason number 4, new cast members that I have encountered are more interested in beer and mixology than in wine. Now, in the interest of full disclosure, I am very much into those things too, although wine occupies a special place in my heart. But I know better than anyone, wine just isn't as cool as those other things. So this is where we need to begin to rethink our role. We're not just the wine waiter. We're not just the cellar rat. Our job is to infect this new generation, this new cast, with enthusiasm for wine, as well as all things beverage, and to provide both our team and our guest with the touchstones to navigate the world of beverage, cuisine, and hospitality. And reason number 5, the wine certification landscape has become more diverse, or perhaps I should say diffuse. Let me explain. The Court of Masters for the longest time was considered, I believe, the pinnacle when it came to the wine world, but it has fielded accusations of systemic toxicity and abuse of power and other things of late, and a lot of prominent people stepped away, and some aspiring wine professionals actually looked to other certification programs. I'm one of those people. So I cannot speak to what actually happened at the court. I was not there. It is like talking trash about a party to which you were not invited, so I'm not going to do it. What I will say is that while the court still remains far more service-focused than WSET and SWE, which are more education-focused, as their names would suggest, I think if venues are seeking to hire wine professionals, they're going to have to consider a lot of different alphabet soups when it comes to the type of certifications that people have who are applying as sommeliers. It's my opinion that these factors have made sommeliers, as traditionally defined, less relevant than in the past. So I agree that the definition should be expanded to include at least the following: wine educators, those who work in retail, who guide guests through bottle shops or even mega stores like Total Wine, and those who rant about wine on the internet and curate local wine communities. I am not advocating that the standards be lowered. On the contrary, I'm concerned by the lack of both knowledge and enthusiasm displayed by many servers and bartenders today. I'm frustrated that consumers often struggle to connect with the wines that they are destined to love, and I am annoyed that some sommeliers have doubled down on the practice of keeping their knowledge rather than sharing it. For example, when faced with the simple question, how do we know what's in the bottle and if we're actually going to like it, most sommeliers will answer some version of trust your wine professional. Most people don't have access to a wine professional, though. They don't keep a sommelier in their pocket. I understand the impulse to place value on the knowledge that we worked so hard to earn, but I reject the idea that we're burdened with so much knowledge that it is impossible for us to even begin to break it down for a normal person. Just think about the context. What is the least amount of information this civilian needs to know that will actually be useful, not only today, but going forward when they are trying to develop their wine profile or find a bottle of wine that they're going to enjoy? For example, why can't we make sure every server and bartender is armed with brief tasting notes on at least every wine sold by the glass? Why can't we provide a complimentary, not complimentary, but complimentary pairing for each dish with a bottle of wine? And why can't we share with guests and consumers something as simple as the effect of climate on wine? This is something everybody can relate to. They can look it up. Perhaps they've traveled to the region. And now we're not just talking about wine. We're talking about a place, which gives us the opportunity to virtually travel, which is one of the great things about wine. This is how they begin to build the flavor profile that they enjoy. Whether you consider yourself a sommelier based on either the traditional or the expanded definition is up to you. What we should concern ourselves with is the goal of evolving and providing a more relevant and impactful role going forward. Resist the temptation to hoard our knowledge. Provide touchstones for guests. Be more available to people on the floor, even if they're not ordering $10,000 bottles. Be mindful of the greater goal of making guests feel special. It's what we're here to do. And finally, devote ourselves to being an educational resource to every member of the team. Share both our knowledge, but also our passion of a very specialized topic. Only then will we have a meaningful effect on the public at large.